Welcome to Gene and Mike do the New York Times crossword.
Hi, I'm Jean.
And I'm Mike. And today we are doing the crossword for Saturday, November 16th, 2024. So, did you do the crossword?
I did do the crossword.
And you did the crossword rather than it did you in?
No, it pretty well did me in.
Really?
Yeah, it was very hard, I thought.
I found it to be just the same. I thought there were a couple of places here where they rudely asked questions that I did not know the answer to. How dare they?
I had quite a few of those myself.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, I chipped away at it, and I got most of it solved. But I knew there were things that were wrong, but I didn't know where they were exactly. And so, yeah, I had to get a little help with this one. But
I made one critical mistake. 7 down was present time. And at first I thought, it's something to do with maybe a birthday. It was 4 letters. And so I thought maybe birthday obviously wouldn't fit. So I thought maybe they meant Christmas. So I had XMAS.
I put that in there, yes.
And then I thought, it's birthday, B-Day, B-D-A-Y, sort of an abbreviation. There was no hint of an abbreviation in the clue, though.
No.
And 5 across outlaws was bands. And I was going back and forth. Maybe it was bars, but I thought, no, if you really outlaw something, you ban it.
I put nixes for, like nix.
But that's not, but it would be
so
spelled.
So you could have Xmas there.
Well, that's true, except nixes would be spelled N-I-X-E-S, right? And so, and then I had the 20 across in that general area was 2002 movie with the tagline, higher education just hit a new low. And I had it starting with an S, and I had the last 5 letters being C-K-E-R-S. So I thought, it's Snickers. Although, I hadn't heard of the movie, so I thought maybe it's Snickers.
I thought it was maybe Shockers.
Okay, I had Sneakers, because I thought that maybe would sort of relate to high school. At one point, I thought about the word slackers, which is the correct answer, except the trouble is for 7 down for present time, I had it starting with N-O, and I thought, it's noon. And I thought, and then I thought about showdown at the OK Corral, and at noon they present arms. And I thought, wow, I'm a genius. And so I left noon in there, and I could not give up on noon. Even though at one point, with slackers in there, I had N-O-O-L, and I thought, Newell, what is Newell? And I was at that point 1 letter away from being correct, because if I had put in Noel, then 17 across, ballerina who popularized the Nutcracker had no idea what that was called Tall Chief, not Tall Chioff, which I was concerned about.
Yes.
And I would have solved the crossword. Yeah. But I'm like, no, it can't be, it has to be noon. So I ended up with Tall Chioff, noon, and Snickers as my answer, which caused grief because 8 down, something to wear while watching the game was safari hat.
Yes.
I thought, it's going to be some sort of
cheese head, I thought.
Well, I had an S and an A, and then an unknown letter, and then possibly an A, and 24 across. The next letter in what turned out to be safari hat. Revel noisily. I had it ending in oyster. O-I-S-T-E-R, and I thought boister, as in boisterous.
Yeah,
and I thought this is a rarely seen version, a rarely seen take on boisterous.
Yeah,
and the reason it's so rarely seen is because it doesn't exist. There's no such word as boister, and it was roister.
Yeah, that's a word I've never heard. Roister.
I don't know if I have or not. I've heard of roster.
I've heard of roster, yes.
Doesn't really help very much here. So that whole there's about I don't know, I'd say a 10 by 2 swathe of squares that I had trouble in.
Yeah, that was a main problem for me too, because I didn't know Tall Chief, and I didn't know. Well, I eventually figured out Noel, but I didn't really know Slackers. And it took me forever to get Huskies. I was thinking Gazanga.
Who?
It's a little college in California.
Gazonga?
Yeah, they have a wonderful basketball team, but it was the Huskies, and I'm not quite sure where they were from.
I got the Huskies. That was a major victory for me.
Oh, yeah. But then I was able to get the rest of that corner. But I had a lot of trouble in that area. I also had a lot of trouble with, 31 down, Prime Minister of Ireland, and it was TAIOSEACH. TAIOSEACH.
I don't know how it's pronounced, but I've read it quite a few times, and so I sort of knew the general idea of the word. I just had no idea how to spell it.
Well, I was thinking a person, prime minister, but it's actually what kind of the way their government.
It's their prime minister. I mean, that's the name they give for their prime minister.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, I did not know that. I didn't know 40 across. Veet rival was Nair. I guess Veet must be a hair removal because that's what Nair does.
I started off with raid because I thought it was like related to DEET. DEET and Veet would be like insects or insect killers, and then raid would have been an alternative. But see, 21 down, of course, was housemate, e.g., and it was co-tenant.
Right.
So I got the N, and so I thought, okay, it's not raid, it's and then I thought, oh, it's Nair.
And then 35 across, phrase on ID tags. Well, it wasn't ID tags. It was it was abbreviation for Idaho.
That was a brilliant clue.
Yeah,
it really.
Clue.
I mean,
but it was. Yeah, it turned out I got the famous part. I'm like, what phrase would be on an ID tag that starts with famous? And then eventually potatoes came into play, and then I'm like, oh, it's Idaho, not ID.
That's funny because I started off with potatoes.
Oh.
And then I think I had the F of famous, and I think I might have had the U, and I thought it was like famous, or I thought it was something about U.S. potatoes. Also 23 down, the S of famous potatoes, the first S of famous potatoes, crossed with that 23 down being camping kits for preparing meals, and that was cook sets.
Cook sets, yes, I didn't know that. I didn't know 27 down, young haddock was a scraw.
Really? You never heard that?
I've heard of that, but I didn't know that's what a young haddock was called.
Oh.
But so, I had no idea what to put in there. Eventually I got it. And then 33 across, holy book in one spelling, and it was Koran. But I think, isn't that the common spelling for Koran, Koran?
Yes, I wanted to spell it with a C because I thought because Koran is spelled. I've always seen Koran spelled Koran, and so I thought, well, if it's going to be in one spelling, like sort of a variant spelling, but I guess that was just their way of confusing us even more,
I suppose.
And
so that whole center and then kind of lower right, I was struggling. There was just too much here I didn't know, and like I got letters to fill in, but it's just like, boy, I think I had so many mistakes I could never find them all. So yeah, I had to get a little help.
I was so my motto is, if I'm able to fill in the entire crossword and convince myself that legitimately each answer is correct, I consider that a victory. And
even if it doesn't solve.
Well, for example, yeah, right. I mean, I think if just because in one person's reality, the ballerina who popularized the Nutcracker is Tall Chief, and in another reality, it's Tall Chioff. Well, okay, all right. It should have been Tall Chief. In both cases with Tall Chief and with Safari Hat, I was going for some sort of exotic foreign term. Like I was thinking, I don't know why I was thinking Sriracha, but aren't there some sort of, there's all sorts of garb that looks like it's vaguely spelled like Safari Hat. Maybe move the F out of the way and swap a few more letters. And
really?
I couldn't think of it. It just felt like it would have been like, like I was thinking maybe a sombrero or something like that. I thought maybe there's some sort of a hat that I am unaware of, just like I am, the ballerina, I thought, oh, it's Russian. And I thought Tall Chioff. That sounds sort of, like who's it? Rudy? Was it Rudy Valentino, was he I'm trying to think of
Rudolph Valentino?
Was Rudolph Valentino a ballet dancer by any chance?
No.
Okay.
Rudolph Nureyev.
How about Baryshnikov? Was that? Okay. So Baryshnikov, Tolchiev, they all sound vaguely Russian. And then I was very pleased. 14 across was headquarters of, Talofa Airways. Talofa Airways. This is like no idea. And then I had enough to recognize the end of the word being Samoa.
Yeah.
And I thought it's starting with an A, and I had Asia. And then I thought, I've seen this before, and it was Apia. And I hauled that out of, part of what helped me find Apia was 2 down. Blank Lee, activist who led the movement to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Mm-hmm. And I had it ending in L, and I had it starting with O. And so I thought, could it be oral? Could it be Oral Lee? Because that sounded maybe possible. Mm-hmm. But then I thought, we've seen Opal a lot in the crossword. Opal sounds good. And then I had Apia, and I thought, Apia, that's the name of the city. And so
that's been in the crossword.
And you knew Apia, Samoa?
No.
Okay.
But I was able to kind of suss it out there. Because I knew 1 down was data, crunched stuff.
See, that wasn't easy. I mean...
Well, I started with 1 across. Goober, I put nerd, but it turned out to be dork. But so once I got dork, then I thought, crunch stuff would be data. And I knew 3 down, small stream was a rill. Mm-hmm. I had that from nerd because there was an R there.
Right.
And then 4 down, home to a real pipperoo of song. And it turned out to be Kalamazoo, which I didn't know. But once I got dork in there with that K, and I had the 2 N's or the 2 O's at the end of that answer, and I thought, it's Kalamazoo. So then I had enough of the letters. I'm like, it's Apia Samoa, yeah, yeah. So I got that. Mm-hmm.
Even in that corner, 19 across, word on Saudi Arabia's flag, Allah. And I found that hard too, because I thought, maybe it's, I think I went for salam.
Oh, I went for Hillel.
You went for Hillel?
Uh-huh.
How did you get Hillel to fit in 5 letters?
Like HALAH.
Oh, as in like the food being properly prepared.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. That sounds more like something you'd see in a deli.
Yeah.
And you would see.
I thought maybe it had some sort of, spiritual meaning.
Okay.
Too. I didn't know. No.
Well, I do know that the equivalent, I'm pretty sure the Israeli flag does not have kosher underneath it.
A little U with the O.
The U.S. would have, burgers or something.
I hope not. Anyway, there were just a lot of really challenging clues and very obscure answers. Mm-hmm. So this one kind of did me in.
Well, this was by Peter Gordon.
Well, we've seen that name before.
This was Peter Gordon's 130th crossword.
Wow.
It is only, though, his 2nd Saturday. Mm-hmm. He's done 6 Fridays, 2 Saturdays, and working backwards through the week, 11 Thursdays, 17 Wednesdays, 29 Tuesdays, 45 Mondays, and 10 Sundays. So he's a little bit out of his element.
Uh-huh. One other one that really, I should say irked me, but I won't. 16 across, leads down the aisle at a wedding informally. Ushers.
Yes.
It's another one of those, man, it's just so hard to put that R in and say ushers.
That's just it. You just need one more letter to go for ushers.
Uh-huh. Ushers. Do people really say ushers?
Sometimes during the sermon, the pastor will talk about ushers to ushers, or something like that. Let's see, what else was 37 down. Brownish grays was taupes.
Yep.
That took me a bit. Mm. And I went for ombres at first.
Oh, ombre. Mm-hmm.
Which, yes. Let's see. They had 45 down. Anti-penultimate word in a noted Neil Armstrong quote.
I knew
and
it.
that was leap.
That's right, because I knew what antepenultimate
Yes.
means now. So
Yep.
I got that one.
In fact, we have a little bit of listener mail about that, which we'll get to at the end of this. But even in everywhere was a struggle. I think, but for me, and I guess for you too, the center, the top center was the most challenging.
Yeah,
but it was a Saturday, and on Saturdays you can expect them to just take off the gloves and just make as tough a crossword as they can without it being really unfair. I mean, if I had only known of Noel, that's just not a word I use. And so and noon is a word that I use. It was time. It was what they did in the OK Corral with the presentation of arms. I everything lined up except for the word slackers. When I had slackers in there for a bit, higher education just hit a new low. I thought slackers sounded right, but then I thought it's just a Back to the Future thing. Let's see if there's anything else. 29 down, subject of New York's first public statue of a woman in 1915 was Joan of Arc. That was not common knowledge, except maybe in New York. And let's see. Continually criticized was hammered at. That took me a bit to get. But anywho, Peter Gordon has been doing this since 1989.
Wow.
So let's see. That's 24 plus 11. So he's been doing this for 35 years. So he's been getting an average of like 3 or 4 per year. No, this man is no slouch. Nope. They must go to him when it's just like, quick, we need a crossword. Go to Peter. He'll have something. And in this case, it was a great crossword. So well done, Peter. All right. Well, that's it for the crossword, but it is Saturday, which means it's time for the Jam Katwa, the Gene and Mike Crossword of the Week Award, where we go back through the crosswords of the week and pick out what we deem to be the very best. There were quite a few great crosswords this week, but one stood out head and shoulders above the rest, and that one was...
Well, I don't know about head and shoulders, but it was a very clever puzzle, and that was Wednesdays by Todd Gross.
Yes.
And the whole theme was related to the number of stars on state flags. And the clues were descriptions of the states along with the number of stars that they have on their flag. And the more stars they have, the better the descriptions were. If they only have 1 star, like Arizona, then it was sort of a diss description. Arizona was described as a big ditch in a big desert, big deal. So they only had 1 star. But the last clue was Georgia. The answer was Georgia, and it has 12 or 13 or 14 stars. I guess 13 stars for the 13 colonies. And its description was peaches, peanuts, and pecan pie. You'll always be on my mind. So just very clever at combining the number of stars on the state flags along with reviews of those states that go along with the number of stars they had. And it was just very well done. So thank you, Todd, and you are our Jam Katra winner.
Yes, indeed. So if you feel so inclined, Todd, drop us a line, crosswordpodcast@icloud.com, with a mailing address and shirt size, and we will have some awesome Northeast Wisconsin swag, as well as a signed Jam Katwa certificate winging its way towards you in no time.
That's right.
And if anyone else wants to reach out to us, you can do it at that same address, or you can do what another listener just did today, in fact, I think, and you can click on the link to send fan mail. And Actually, I guess this was yesterday. We got some more fan mail from Gregory. And he writes, aren't you glad to now know what anti-penultimate means?
I am. Thank you, Greg.
Yes. And again, for the record, I've been querying people around me all week, and I only found one person who knew anti-penultimate. She had heard it in a Spanish class where they talked about the last syllable in a word, the penultimate symbol, and the syllable, and the anti-penultimate syllable.
Oh.
So, but yes, so thanks for that, Gregory, and keep that fan mail coming. All right, well, that is it for today. So thanks everyone for listening, and we will see all of you again tomorrow.
Bye-bye.